today we'll be doing a 3-needle bind off to join the shoulders of a sweater. This type of shoulder joint is featured in several patterns, and I'll link those below, but it's a great way to easily make a shoulder seam that's not bulky. It's fairly tidy, and so what I've got today are the two pieces of the sweater, the front and the back. I've got them on needles and right sides facing, and a needle in the right hand that we're going to be working with. So the first thing we're going to do is line them up stitch by stitch as best as possible. We're going to insert our right hand needle into the first stitch of our first needle and the first stitch of our second needle. And we're going to knit those together, and we'll knit those like we do normally. And then we're going to repeat that. Insert the right hand needle through the first stitch of the first needle and the first stitch of the second needle, and knit those and let the stitches fall off the left hand needles. And then we're just going to use one of our left hand needles and bring that stitch over just like we would do a normal bind off. So let's see that again. Into the first stitch of the first needle, the first stitch of the second needle, and knit those. Let the stitches fall off and bind off one stitch. First stitch of the first needle, first stitch of the second needle, and knit. Let them fall off the left hand needles and bind off. And we'll continue like that all the way down until we've bound off the shoulder stitches required. First stitch of the first needle, first stitch of the second needle, knit, let them fall off the left hand needles, and bind off. One thing you want to be careful not to do is put your right hand needle through both legs of the first stitch. If you do that, you'll drop a stitch. You want to make sure it goes through the first leg of the first stitch and the first leg of the first stitch on that second needle, and you knit those as we would normally, and then bind off. last stitch. Bind off as normal, and then we're just going to pull a tail through that very last stitch, and that is our 3-needle bind off to do this shoulder seam of a sweater. And that bind off is pretty sturdy. It's very clean and very neat looking. And it'll give the sweater the structure that it needs to withstand the entire weight of the rest of the sweater hanging from this shoulder seam. And it's easy to do, and that's why I like to use this shoulder seaming method. Thanks for watching.